Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. This is the Galaxy S24 Ultra. I've been using it for 2 weeks and it's the most feature-packed phone in the world right now. There's nothing another phone can do that this phone cannot do, maybe except for AirDrop and iMessage. You know, AirDrop is useful, but iMessage, who cares, man? It's like an American thing. So other than those two features, this phone can do literally everything. It is the most complete phone on the market right now. That doesn't mean I think it is perfect. No, because I think the camera sensors could use more improvement because Samsung really only improved one camera of the 5 here this year. The other 4 sensors are the same sensors used in the S23 Ultra, and in the case of the 3x zoom lens, it was used in the S22 Ultra, so it's like 2-3 years old. And you know, I'm spoiled. I get to test all the latest Chinese flagship phones with the newest sensors, like sensors that were just announced like 6 weeks ago, and then it shows up in the new Oppo device. So it's hard for Samsung to compete with that, but Samsung doesn't need to compete with that because in Samsung's key markets, for example, like the US, South Korea, Chinese phones don't even sell there. So then for Samsung, okay, I got distracted by a cat. So let's try this new 5x zoom lens of the S24 Ultra. It has a pretty good portrait lens that can shoot at 5x focal length. So very useful. So this is that new 5x periscope zoom lens. It's a much more useful focal length at about 125mm compared to the 10x lens in the last several Ultra phones. And also because it's a 50 megapixel sensor, it allows Samsung to use in-sensor crop to grab a 10x zoom shot that is still almost lossless quality. So you basically gain a 5x focal range without really losing that 10x range. Okay, sorry, I got distracted by the cat. So for Samsung, its main competition is not the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, which doesn't even sell outside of China. Instead, the main competition for the S24 Ultra is the iPhone 15 series, Google Pixel 8 series, and in some cases the OnePlus 12 and older Samsung devices. And I think in this narrower field, the S24 Ultra does enough to still stand at the top or near the top. The hardware, like I said, is not as good as the best Chinese phones, but it's better than the Google Pixel 8 Pro. But of course, this year's S24 Ultra is not really about hardware. In fact, during Samsung's announcement, they didn't even talk about hardware until like 20 minutes into the show. It was all about AI features this year. I do think the AI features are genuinely useful. I've been using the two-way translation when I take taxis in Thailand, and I absolutely love circle to search and the ability to turn any video on the S24 into a slow motion video. So this doesn't only work with videos I've just shot, even a video I've grabbed off Instagram, I can turn it into a slow motion video. It is freaking awesome. So these AI features are awesome. However, I don't feel comfortable completely praising the S24 Ultra for these features because most of these features are not exclusive to the S24. Actually, none of the features are exclusive to the S24 Ultra. All of them will be being ported over to the S23 series and the Fold 5 pretty soon. And something like Circle to Search, it's a Google invention. It is already on Google Pixel phones right now. So while Samsung gets credit for putting all these features into one package, the reality is all these features will be available on other phones soon. So to evaluate the S24 Ultra, you still have to look at hardware. It helps that the S24 Ultra's hardware looks really good this year. And I'm surprised to say this because the S24 Ultra from afar looks just like the S23 Ultra and the S22 Ultra. So at first glance, it may appear boring, but Samsung made 2 small changes that combine to make for more than the sum of its parts and make for the most premium looking Samsung device yet, in my opinion. First is the change to a titanium frame that's also a little bit flatter. Previously, Samsung screens, curved a little bit on the left and right side. Now the panel's flat, the frame's a little bit wider. I actually don't mind curved screens that much, but I do think Samsung did a really good job with this flat panel, particularly these symmetrical bezels. This is just a very clean looking face, including the top and bottom sides, that now allows the S24 Ultra to stand up on its own very easily. I can now just stand it up on a table like this. In fact, I tried this when I shot a street unboxing. I just put the S24 Ultra on a steel railing and then I used the S Pen to control the camera because the S Pen can be a remote control shutter for the camera. So that makes the S24 Ultra a very useful on-the-fly, quickie, self-shooting vlog machine. So that's the first change. The second change is this display, Samsung gave it a matte coating. So that means even when the screen is off, it doesn't really get as reflective as other devices. Like you see this screen is much more reflective, right? Now if you're wondering why the screen isn't completely black, it's because this is the new always on display from OneUI. It's like the iPhone's always on display. Basically, you can still see the clock on your wallpaper and even the music player. If you have like Spotify playing, you'll see that Spotify control. I really like it actually, but if you don't like it, you can turn it off and go with an all black always on display. So I think the S24 Ultra is a really good looking phone. A lot of times I find myself sitting in a coffee shop just kind of admiring this phone. I particularly love this color and this minimal camera layout. Battery life is excellent too. There's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here that, combined with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, makes for one of the longest running phones I've tested in the last 2 years. So I'm a very heavy user, and this phone can actually last me a full 14, 15 hour day outside. When you do need to charge the phone, this phone charges at 45 watt speeds, which is not that fast, but it's okay. Unfortunately, Samsung doesn't include a charger, so I've been using this guy from today's video sponsor. This is the Sharge Retro 67 from Shargeek. This is a 67 watt charger with 3 USB-C ports, and it's cute, right? It looks like a little Macintosh, and this screen isn't just for decoration. So when you plug in the charger into a socket, the screen actually lights up and will show you your charging information, how much watt it is outputting. So you get 3 USB-C ports, all of them support USB-C PD 3.0 or QC 3.0, and you get a maximum of 67 watt combined. So when I plug the S24 Ultra into this guy, I am charging this phone at maximum 45 watt speeds, and I still have 22 watt of power left in the other 2 ports to charge other devices. So recently I was on a flight, and this guy was able to charge my phone and my wireless earbuds at the same time. And then later, I was able to charge a MacBook Pro too, keep the MacBook Pro from draining power as I was playing NBA 2K. So this guy's awesome. If you're interested, I have a link in the description below. Let's talk about the cameras a little bit more. So even though only the periscope zoom lens is new, Samsung's software image processing did improve. So I noticed that Samsung's photos no longer have those very exaggerated, saturated colors from years past. Colors are a little bit more natural. And for low light scenes, like for night city shots, Samsung is now actually preferring to keep the colors a little bit darker, keep shadows a little bit darker instead of just artificially brightening everything. And I'm a fan of that. I think these photos captured by the S24 Ultra mostly look very good to my eyes. But then again, you have to remember, I am the most nitpicky reviewer out there for cameras because I get to test literally every phone. So Samsung's cameras are very good overall if you compare against the iPhone. Generally speaking, I prefer the S24 Ultra's images over the iPhone 15 Pro Max's images. And particularly for zoom lens, the S24 Ultra's 5x periscope zoom completely beats the iPhone 15 Pro Max's Prism 5x lens. Like, when you're shooting at 5x, maybe the difference isn't that noticeable, but when you jump up to like 25x or 10x, you see the S24 image is better. The iPhone image is much softer and also noisier because the image sensor is smaller. With that said, the image sensor size does matter, right? Because then if I compare the zoom lens of the S24 Ultra against the Vivo X100 Pro or the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, then Samsung loses. I mean, look at this right here. 25x zoom into this pigeon of all 3 shots. The Samsung image is better than the iPhone image, but the Vivo image is better than the Samsung image. So this is what I mean by, if I really nitpick, this camera system here does not blow me away. Like, I have other phones that can take better photos, but again, those phones are only selling in China, and they're also like, you know, the software experience isn't as well rounded as Samsung. They don't give as many years of software updates, and honestly, there are a lot of people out there that just won't use Chinese brands for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into it, but whatever reason, Chinese brands is out of the equation for them. So then Samsung's, again, the competition is the iPhone or the Google Pixel 8 Pro. And I think the S24 Ultra holds up. Video performance is very good, and this time no caveat. So even against Chinese phones, the S24 Ultra's video performance may be the best in the business in terms of stabilization and audio intake, all that. For the main camera, anyway, I find that for the 5x zoom lens, video can be a little bit jittery. So I'm watching main camera footage with the S24 Ultra, and then now we'll go to 3x zoom. So this is the first zoom lens telephoto. I'll do the periscope. This is 5x zoom. Out to ultra wide. Everything about this phone performs very well. The haptics here are excellent. I really enjoy typing on the S24 Ultra, and I love the S Pen this time around. So I'm someone who don't always love the S Pen, but this year I use the S Pen a lot for generative AI on device photo editing. So generative AI is really fun to play with. It's basically, when you edit photos, when you remove something from a photo, generative AI will create original pixels. So let me show you an example. This is a photo of my dad and I. He sat a little bit further away from me, and I wanted to get him a little bit closer to me. So I'm gonna hit this generative AI button. or this AI button in general. And then now I'm gonna use the S Pen to draw a circle around him. And this is where the S Pen comes in handy because it's easier for me to draw an outline around somebody than using my chubby fingers. So now if I drag, I can bring him closer. And if I hit generate, Samsung's AI is going to create original pixels right here, because you see this background where my dad used to be at, now it's completely missing pixels. And previous phones without generative AI would not be able to do an edit like this. Generally, it hits more than it misses. So this is the final shot. So you see, this is the original, this is the final. This is generative AI. It moved my dad over here, and it created original pixels here. I mean, I don't even know what that is. Let me zoom in. So it created an entirely new table. This table was not there in the original photo. So the generative AI stuff is very fun to play with, although this is not exclusive to the S24 Ultra. But it's little things like that that add to the overall experience of the S24 Ultra. It's just a very polished device, the most feature-packed device. Like I said, there are other Chinese phones like the Vivo X100 Pro that snaps photos that I like better. But if I want to do some editing on it, the S24 can edit the photo a lot better than the Vivo X100 Pro. So that's why I think if you're on the market for a new phone right now and you want the absolute most feature-packed phone that does everything with the most number of years of software updates, it has to be the S24 Ultra. Personally, I love taking street photography, so I'm still going to use the Vivo X100 Pro a lot when I'm traveling because this guy's portrait lens is so good. But the S24 Ultra is a more polished phone. There's no competition right here. This guy has a better camera, but this guy's better at just about everything else. So yeah, that's about it for this review of the S24 Ultra. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thanks for watching.